and I live on the island of Kauai. And I've always heard stories that you could see a wahoo from here, which is, depending on who you ask, anywhere from about 70 miles to over 100 miles away. And so technically, you really should not be able to see an island that far away due to the supposed curvature of the Earth. So I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for a very clear day so that I could get a picture of a wahoo from Kauai. Just the other day, on the 25th of October 2015, we had a pretty clear day, and I was able to get several different shots of a wahoo. So the one that I got first was early in the morning, and you know, it's not the greatest picture, but knowing what I'm looking for, it was clear to me that this was a wahoo. And you can see the clouds, and then you can see the island formation right below that. Later in the day, I've got this image. Now, this image is a little better. You can clearly see the outline of a landmass that is approximately 100 miles away. It's not a mirage, it's not clouds, it's clearly a landmass, and it in fact is a wahoo. Here's an enhanced version of that same image. I've tried to increase the contrast so that you can make out the landmass even better, and I've also zoomed in. There's also an image that was taken from the airport, and the elevation here is probably less than 50 feet off sea level. This image is taken when the sun was coming up behind a wahoo, which probably helped to be able to see the image. If the Earth is in fact a sphere, like they tell us it is, how come you can see a wahoo? How come you can see this landmass, which, by the way, its highest point is just a little over 4,000 feet. I think it's 4,025 feet. It's Mount Ka'ala. And Mount Ka'ala on Oahu should be well below the horizon, or at least, maybe you could see the very tip of it if you were, at the right vantage point. But ultimately, you should not be able to see Oahu because it would be below the horizon. So to illustrate that, what I did was, well, first of all, let me show you, this is what Google says. You did a search distance between Oahu and Kauai. They say it's 108 miles from the center of Kauai to the center of Oahu. So Google said it, it's official. This graphic is extremely accurate. It basically, I've been able to zoom in to the Earth itself. Here's Kauai, which is the island that I'm on. Here's Oahu. Now, remember, Google says that it's 108 miles between Kauai and Oahu. So, to back up a little bit, the circumference of the Earth is 24,901 miles. Now, that number might vary a little bit between different sources. I've seen it just estimated to be a flat 25,000 miles, and I've seen it a little less. But 24,901 is the most common number. So what I did is I divided that number by 360 degrees so that I could figure out how many miles are in each degree of arc. Now, the red line right here, the red line, which is a horizontal line, I'm going to back up a few steps. This red line is perfectly horizontal. So this represents what you would be able to see if you're looking across the horizon. If you're looking out at the ocean, you're looking at the horizon line, you are seeing a line that is completely horizontal. And I'm going to zoom back in. Here's the red line I'm talking about. So if I'm sitting right here taking a picture of Oahu, there's a fair amount of ocean where it appears flat and then it just drops off. You just can't see any further. The eye can only see so far. Even if you have a telescope, you can you can see things that are further in the air, but as far as the ocean, there's only so much ocean you can see. So I've set this up so that to estimate the line of sight. Now the line of sight takes us right to the very top of Mount Ka'ala, which is a little over 4,000 feet in elevation. So like I'm saying, if you were up a little bit in elevation, technically you ought to be able to see the very, very tippy top of that. If you're down at sea level, probably not. Now this is on a round Earth, of course, a round Earth model. So the big rub I have here is that you should not be able to see this landmass. Not unless you're up sufficiently high, like thousands of feet, would you be able to see that landmass. You would not be able to see it at sea level or 100 or 200 feet off the ground. It just wouldn't be there. And yet, the evidence is overwhelming. Newspaper article from September 25th, 2011 says, clear to Oahu. Weather conditions gave Kauaians a rare treat Wednesday morning with a clear view of Oahu some 90 miles away. So you can clearly see the image or the outline of the island here at the bottom of the frame. I believe this was taken at sea level, and also that it was taken during high tide. So you're unable to see this one little portion here, but other than that, the outline is exactly the same as what is in all the other images that I've collected.